help me understand. For 3, I know the crimes of passion or something, and in the heat of the moment. But to spend 3 days driving nails into a guy's head and pulling his teeth out.
Right.
Why?
I found it necessary.
If there were ever a murder case to make us careful about what we say to someone we barely know, this would be it. This is what happens when misinformation meets psychopathic killer. This is the case of a woman who enforced an ungodly fate on an unsuspecting disabled man simply for wrongly believing he was working for police. This is the case of Angela Simpson. My name is Zach, and you are watching Crime Origin. Not much is known about the infamous Angela Simpson, a woman born on the 29th of November 1975, although it is clear that she did not have a normal childhood, as you would imagine. While most 10-year-old girls are out playing with their friends or doing homework, Angela was being hospitalized for mental illness.
I started being hospitalized at 10 years old. I have a mental history from 10 years old until present, so yeah.
When you say mental history, I mean, do you care that anyone feels sorry for you? Do you want anybody?
Feel sorry for me?
Yeah. Should the people who are watching this say because she had a bad childhood,
of course not,
because she has mental illness?
Of course not, no.
That we should feel some sympathy for you?
No.
You would not have that?
I want no sympathy, no.
With that being said, as she matured, her need for sympathy quickly dissolved into a cold, confident demeanor that is creepy enough to send shivers down your spine. Before her sentencing, Angela lived in the bustling city of Phoenix, Arizona, a place known for its good economic opportunities and affordable living. Unfortunately for 46-year-old disabled man Terry Neely, she also lived down the road from the assisted living care facility where he resided. According to people who knew Neely, he would often ride around the neighborhood on his motorized wheelchair before returning to the facility. This left plenty of opportunities for Angela to meet him at some point and form her own ideas about him. On August 2nd, 2009, at about 8 p.m., Neely went out for a neighborhood stroll in his motorized wheelchair. After he did not return home, members of the assisted care facility grew concerned, but did not think too much of his absence yet. They searched the neighborhood for any sign of him, to no avail. Nothing could prepare them for knowing where he actually was. After a couple of days, witnesses called police regarding the discovery of Neely's motorized wheelchair standing empty outside a nearby apartment building. Upon entering the building, investigators searched a few of the apartments until they stumbled upon something suspicious. In one of the apartments, it appeared that someone had removed the carpet in one of the rooms, leaving nothing but bloodstains behind. While the investigation into Neely's disappearance ignited, members of the public called the fire department to report a burning trash can in the parking lot of a local church near 9th and Peoria Avenue. When officials arrived on the scene, it became clear that this was not a case of fire hazard, but rather a cause for criminal investigation. Upon looking into the trash can after putting out the fire, no one could bear to take a second look. To the horror of the officials on scene, inside the trash can were the charred remains of a human being, dismembered into nothing but a torso and limbs. Investigators arrived on the scene and proceeded to identify the remains. All the while, samples of the bloodstains found in the apartment building were under close examination to determine who the victim was. At this point, the public were in a scurry of shock and confusion, while the two crime scenes stood seemingly unrelated, both a gruesome mystery yet to be solved. With the terrifying discovery of human remains taking place on church grounds, Pastor Leonard Griffin made a statement. He said that their church was there to be a lighthouse for the community to spread the peace of God, and that he hoped the church could turn this tragedy into something positive for the community. However, no one knew that the story of these remains would only grow more sinister. Soon after the investigation began, officials were able to tie the two crime scenes together with one common factor: the victim, who, in both cases, evidence proved to be none other than 46-year-old Terry Neely. The only question was, what happened to Neely, and who would feel it was their right to kill this unsuspecting disabled man in cold blood? Shortly after investigators took to the scene at the apartment building, a nervous witness came forth with case-cracking information. He was the apartment complex manager, one of Angela Simpson's accomplices, called Edward McFarland, also known as Cracker, who had been on an armed robbery with Simpson soon after Neely disappeared. The witness told officials that the two had asked to borrow his vehicle and that upon returning, Simpson had told him that she killed Neely and cut him up. He was scared to come forward as the two threatened to kill him if he spoke up about what he now knew. With this information in hand, officials were able to arrest Simpson on the 19th of August, 2009, and bring her in for questioning on more than one account. As police questioned Simpson for the alleged crimes, she did what many other killers would not do in a hurry. She did not deny the allegations against her. Instead, she proudly confessed what she had done and did not spare any details, which would later be confirmed to be true through the autopsy report.
I took him to my house, walked him down the street. I don't know why the media acts like the couldn't walk. He walked very well. Walked him upstairs, kicked his ass, and killed him.
According to Simpson, she lured Neely into her apartment building at the 9600 block of North 12th Avenue with the false promise of sex and drugs. She then confessed to confining his wheelchair in front of a mirror and proceeding to torture him for 3 days straight, forcing him to watch until she successfully killed him on August 5th before dismembering him and burning the pieces. Although she states in a jailhouse interview, "I beat him to death, I killed him and cut him up," the details she confessed to police were much more malicious. So much so that detectives across the world have dubbed it one of the worst crimes they've ever seen. Once Neely was securely kidnapped by Simpson and forcibly placed in front of the mirror to watch the despicable torture she would carry out on him, she proceeded to beat him over the head with a tire iron, slowly pull out his teeth, hammer a 3-inch nail into his brain, stab him over 50 times, slice his throat, and then strangle him to death with a television cable. But the insanity of the Angela Simpson case doesn't end there. When describing the event, Angela tells the story with such candor that TikTokers have taken a clip of her most ludicrous statement and turned it into a dark acting trend.
Why did this man deserve to die? You claimed he was a snitch.
Well,
What proof do you have of that?
He told me he was a snitch
He told you.
on many occasions.
It's
I took him to my house, walked him down the street. I don't know why the media acts like the couldn't walk. He walked very well. Walked him upstairs, kicked his ass, and killed him. No, I don't know any of that.
Okay. Do you believe him? Do you think he really was a snitch?
Oops, if he wasn't.
She goes as far as to state that Neely could walk and that she simply kicked his ass and killed him, as if it was no big deal to her. However, perhaps the most disturbing part about this interview is her extreme change in character when she suddenly decides that the interview is over. She immediately breaks out of the cold, serious demeanor she was holding throughout the interview and bursts out laughing. She then loudly asks the interview to make it look good and says that the interview is going to be some good shit in a humorous tone, showing just how confident and remorseless she truly is about what she did to Neely.
Okay, we're done.
Are you done?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Angela.
Good dude. That's gonna be crazy, isn't it? That's gonna be wicked. Make it look good, please.
After a long wait, Angela Simpson stood trial and pled guilty on Tuesday, March 29, 2012. When asked why she targeted a disabled man in this way, she frankly declared that he deserved it. When asked why Simpson forced Neely to watch his torture in the mirror, she stated he needed to see what he deserved, but said that he had told her he told on a righteous person years ago, which to her made him a snitch, a term she wrongly used over and over again for Neely during her trial and jailhouse interview. When asked if she was remorseful, she said that she was most definitely not, and that if she could, she would have preferred to keep him alive and torture him for a week. She also stated that she hopes to kill again, and I quote, "I'm a little upset that I won't be able to, kill more snitches." She was sentenced by Judge Paul McMurdy to natural life in prison, making her ineligible for commutation, parole, work release, or release from confinement on any basis. She then received an additional 14 years imprisonment 5 days later. Her sentence was for first-degree murder, kidnapping, and abandonment or concealment of a dead body. Despite the relief of her sentence, Simpson has given us no satisfaction for her punishment, as she stated in an interview that she deserved the death penalty and that prison is not a punishment for her, as she gets to spend the rest of her life with her sisters in prison. Since her sentencing, sources say that Angela has converted to the Islam faith and managed to find a person willing to marry her despite the fact that she will be in prison until she dies, with no exception. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like the video, comment your take down below, and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit that notification bell in order to stay up to date each time we reveal a new shocking case.